Yeah, let's start with this. Colorado arrived in San Antonio today. So they went today. BYU comes into town, heads into town, San Antonio, tomorrow, Christmas Eve.
So the Alamo Dome will be, there's going to be a lot of Colorado fans. Just brace yourself. We're going to have a lot of BYU fans too.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be an empty seat in that place. Seats 60,000 plus. But game day is Saturday, 3:30 Mountain Time, BYU TV. Did you just say that?
No.
Okay.
You got. Hey, we got to remind. If we have to say it twice.
I was looking at the Romano family.
Dave and I are staying. We're not going down to the game. We're going to be in studio. We'll have Spencer down on the field in the Alamo Dome, and we'll be bringing all of the info for 2 hours leading up to the kickoff. And that starts at 3:30. The kick is at 5:30 Mountain Time. That one's on ABC. And then come right back to BYU TV afterward and watch the BYU TV postgame show with us.
Some notable notes. Chase Roberts announced Saturday night he'll be back for 2025. And we were talking last week that of all the guys that BYU could find in the portal that would have a huge impact next season, we couldn't think of anyone more valuable than Chase.
Yeah, I think he was the most important re-recruit. And everybody's thinking of portal recruiting, but how about recruiting your guy that could go out early and go to the NFL?
Yeah.
To me, he was the most important. In fact, we talked about it last week. The guys on Sports Nation asked me that this week. And they also said, do you think he's coming back? And I said, yes, I think he is coming back. When you look at it from Chase's perspective, from an objective perspective, right now he's projected like be a late rounder or a free agent signee. Darius will be gone next year. Maybe. We're going to talk about that a little while too. This whole junior college legislation thing, we'll take you into that in a little bit. But if Darius is gone, I feel like Chase will get the bulk of the targets at that wide receiver spot. He comes back and catches 70, 80 balls next year and goes over 1,000 yards. All of a sudden, he's up in the first 3 rounds as a draft pick. That is a big difference in your percentage chance of making a team versus not making a team. So why not come back, get NIL money for another year, be the guy, and go off into the NFL next year? That's what Chase has decided to do. I think it's a great decision.
Excited about that. Darius Laster is suspended for the first half of the game because he got in a fight at the end of the Houston game.
Yeah.
So we're not going to see him until the second half, although I still may pick him as my Y factor on game day. Jake Retzlaff, by the way, says he is as healthy as he's been since before the Utah game, which was back on November 9th. I talked to Jake at practice early, last Wednesday?
Yeah.
And still had his leg banged up from where the Utes hit him in that game on the 9th. But he needs to be elusive, healthy, and running around like a madman because he's a big part of the ground game. And it looks like he's ready to go.
He's been banged up. I feel like he was ready to go in that last game against Houston, but they really didn't need him to do too much in the run game in that one. But that's the first time since the first quarter of the Utah game that he's been healthy from the knees down. And he showed us both of his calves right after that Utah game, about midweek after that Utah game. And he was black and blue from his knees all the way down to his ankles. And his ankles looked like he rolled both of his ankles. You know how when you roll an ankle and it gets all puffed up and is purple and yellow? Yeah. That's what he looked like for a couple of weeks. He had a huge gash in his calf. I'm going, holy cow, how's this guy even playing? But he was playing. And he gradually has gotten a little bit better. And I thought he was pretty healthy for Houston. He's 100% for this game. So I expect him to be a big part of the run game again. And that's good news for BYU's offense, that's for sure.
Well, here's the series. It's the 13th meeting between BYU and Colorado. The Buffs lead 8-3. BYU won the last meeting in the 1988 Freedom Bowl, 20-17. I got a story coming out later this week with Ty Detmer and Jason Chaffetz. That was a big game for Detmer because it solidified him as the starter moving forward. And it was a big game for Chaffetz because he won it on a field goal. That's coming out later this week.
And that launched Jason into his political career.
It didn't hurt it.
No, it didn't hurt it at all. The thing about Jason I never understood is, we should get Jason on the show sometime.
He'd love to be on.
But he could kick a field goal, come over, take his helmet off. How could his hair be perfect when he took his helmet off?
Ty told me that he took full advantage of the rule that you could take your helmet off on the field.
Yeah.
So he'd kick that field goal and that thing would come off, and he'd say anytime he could get TV time with his helmet off, he was all for it. So they kind of went back and forth.
We need to bring him on and ask what products he used on his hair back in those days, where he can take the helmet off and immediately have perfect hair.
Colorado's the home team, so they're coming out in their black and gold. And BYU's going to wear all white for the holiday season. The white helmet. They sent out a picture today. White helmet, white top, white pants. It looks awesome. And it's going to be a great contrast.
Yeah, and Colorado's favored by 4.5. A Vegas line is out. I did have a discussion after the basketball game the other night with who, in my opinion, is the top analytics guy in the world. You know who I'm talking about? Shane Reese.
Yeah.
President Reese. Excuse me. Yeah, I said to him, if you run any analytics on this one, you got a line for me? And he goes, yeah, Blaine, I've actually run full analytics. I don't think he minds me saying. He says, I did full analytics. I did it objectively. And I have BYU as a 3-point favorite in this bowl game.
All right, I'll take that.
So he says on a neutral field, BYU is a 3-point favorite with all of, and think about it, the further you get into the season as a person that does analytics, the more data you have to make a really good objective projection on this. So with a full season behind both teams, he has BYU 3-point favorite on a neutral field.
Let's do it.
That's a pretty close ball game.
It's coming right from the top.
Yeah,
it's coming right from the top. Alamo Dome seats 64,000. It hosted the Final Four back in 2018. The weather is going to be perfect because it's indoors.
Right.
And Dr. Derwin Gray is going to run out the alumni flag with the BYU football team.
It's better because it'd be just perfect temperature, and Derwin's not getting any younger, less likely to pull a hamstring.
Humidity. There won't be any humidity.
No, it'll be just perfect.
He should be fine.
Hey, Heisman Trophy winner is going to be in this game, which is really exciting. Wide receiver and defensive back Travis Hunter plays wide receiver and corner. He's NFL caliber talent at both positions. I think he's a better wide receiver than a corner. I mean, he could play either. He's a really, really good wide receiver. He'll be the best wide receiver BYU will face this season, which is saying something. There's some really good guys in this league. The last time BYU faced a Heisman Trophy winner was in 2009 when Sam Bradford came out as a senior starter, Heisman Trophy winner, and for that Oklahoma team, and BYU beat that Oklahoma team 14-13 in Dallas at AT&T Stadium.
And that was it for Bradford.
Yep, that was it.
Common opponents.
They knocked him out of that game.
Yeah, they did. And it changed the game.
Yes, it did.
And there are a lot of folks that say if Bradford had stayed in that game, it would have been a different outcome.
And I agree with that.
Common opponents. Against common opponents, BYU 7-1 and Colorado's 5-2. So before Jeff Hansen comes on with us, let's run down some of this.
Yeah, so Baylor, both teams played Baylor. BYU won in Waco, so on the road 34-28. Colorado won in Boulder 38-31. To me, that's similar scores, and you ought to beat them by more when you're at home, right?
Yeah, UCF, BYU won in Orlando 37-24. Colorado won in Orlando 48-21.
Yeah.
Okay.
So both on the road. Colorado did a little better job there. Kansas State, and this is a big one. This is why there's a difference in records. Kansas State, BYU won 38-9 in Provo at home. Colorado also got them at home and lost 31-28.
Yeah, that's right. When we were thinking of here comes K-State.
Yeah, K-State we thought they were on the roll.
Arizona, BYU beat the Wildcats in Provo 41-19. Colorado went to Tucson and beat them 34-7.
And then Utah, BYU won in Salt Lake City 22-21, and then Colorado won in Boulder, ran away with it 49-24.
Yeah, it was like a 10 a.m. game in the cold.
Sometimes there's style matchups like. The way Utah plays defense, and they don't change the way they do it, is a bad matchup for both Arizona and for Colorado.
Yeah,
You're just going to play Colorado man-to-man all over the field? It's a bad idea with Travis Hunter playing wide receiver, and that's what Utah did.
Speaking of the Plains, Kansas, BYU lost in Provo 17-13, and then Colorado went to Arrowhead and played in Kansas City, and the Jayhawks routed them 37-21.
Yeah, that's when we were going, whoa, Kansas was on a roll, and then they just tapered off in that last game. But they were on a run there for 4 games where they were as good as anybody in the league, and they beat BYU and Kansas or beat BYU and Colorado during that time. Then Oklahoma State's the last common opponent. BYU won in Provo 38-35. Colorado won in Boulder 52-0. That was just took them out and behind the shed and beat the heck out of them.
Here are some stat comparisons, and this is all leading to Blaine revealing his 3 keys to beating the Buffs on Saturday. BYU is number 1 in the Big 12 in defensive efficiency. Colorado is number 1 in offensive efficiency. Both teams very efficient.
Yes, they are. BYU's number 1 in total defense. Colorado's number 3 in total offense.
Colorado's number 1 in passing offense. BYU's number 2 in passing defense.
And Colorado averages 34.5 points a game. BYU's defense only allows 20.1 a game. They're number one in scoring defense in the conference.
The Cougars average 30.8, and Colorado allows 22.
Yeah, Colorado's right up there too in scoring defense. Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders has just 8 interceptions. BYU's defense leads the nation in interceptions with 20.
Yeah,
that's an interesting one.
That's a giant differential in numbers. Sanders has been sacked 37 times, most in the Big 12. BYU's defense has just 16 sacks, which is 15th in the Big 12.
Yeah, so that's not strength against strength.
No.
That's weakness against weakness.
Something's got to give.
Something's got to give there. Colorado averages just 70 yards rushing with 15 touchdowns, and BYU averages 136.7 with 18 touchdowns rushing.
A BYU kicker, Will Farron, has made 14 consecutive field goals.
Yeah.
If it comes down to a foot, the advantage is...
Let's be honest. When he runs out on the field, if it's 55 yards or less, do we even have any doubt that he's going to make it?
No, it's a great feeling.
When BYU gets past a certain point on the field, you just go, well, at least they'll get 3, unless they turn it over. Because if they send Will Farron out there, he's going to knock it home.
He's going to knock it in.
That is a great feeling. And how about having that guy back? That was another guy to recruit back. So
Janet on the stream says it should be an awesome bowl matchup.
Yes.
We agree. Tell us what you think about this one.
When you look at the stat comparisons, there's strength against strength. There's weakness against weakness. This is a good matchup. It really is.
This is the 41st bowl game in BYU history. It's the biggest since the Cotton Bowl on January 1st, 1997.
Yeah, and it's the first post-Christmas bowl since 2013.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it really has.
This is when this is bowl season. Right. You know, once you get after Christmas, it's not how fast can we get the game over with on December 16th.
Well, and people are paying attention right now. Is there a bowl game tonight? I think there's a bowl game tonight. I don't even know what it is.
There was 2 today. The Potato Bowl was today, and Boca Raton or something.
Yeah, did you care?
It was on. I didn't care.
No, you didn't care.
I just watched.
Yeah, because you kind of have this Christmas rush, and then as soon as Christmas is over, you go, what bowl games are on between now and New Year's, right?
Exactly.
So that's what happens, and this is the richest payout in program history for any bowl, including that Cotton Bowl. $8.25 million payout per team.
Yeah, this is the big time.
Yeah.
It's a real big time. Projected to be the largest TV audience for a BYU bowl game or any game in program history.
Yeah, and this is the 41st bowl game in BYU history, which is really, really cool.
All right, Debbie from Vernal, Utah, checking in, wishing everybody a Merry Christmas. Debbie, you're just in time for Blaine's 3 keys to beating the Buffs. Number 1.
I'm going to start with this. You have to finish drives with touchdowns and not settle for field goals.
All right, I'm writing these
and
down.
As good as Will Farron is, and I mean, he's going to have a field, but you need to score more touchdowns than field goals in this game. Because Colorado's going to score a little bit, right? Yeah. And you can't completely hold them down, and you can't afford to settle for field goals. So that's my first thing.
Okay. Number 2.
I think you need to limit big plays over the top. BYU defensively needs to limit big plays. So Colorado's a big play offense. So they don't typically drive at 80 yards and take 9 minutes off the clock and run it and average 4 yards a play. They get huge plays over the top. They get 70-yard touchdowns and 60-yard touchdowns. Remember, that was UCF's kind of mojo when BYU played them. BYU did a really good job of keeping those big plays in front of them, and that's what they have to do. That helps you to manage points. If the big plays aren't 70-yard touchdowns, if they're 30 yards and then you stop them, you have a chance to either force field goals or force them to punt. And that's what BYU's got to do. So limit big plays over the top.
All right, number 3.
And then number 3 is win turnover margin battle. BYU can't give Colorado short fields, and they can't leave points on the board by being down on the 1 yard line first and goal and throwing picks and doing things like that or fumbling the football. You got to score when you're in the red zone, and you can't give Colorado short fields. So I think the turnover margin battle is, and that maybe should have been number 1. But those are my 3. And BYU's got some good strategies to shake up this offense a little bit. The teams that have done a good job have possessed the football. I think that's important for BYU to possess the football. And they've made Shedeur Sanders move around, but not the kind where he drops back and you lose containment and he gets out on the edge and he has all kinds of time to look down the field and those great receivers are running all over the place. I'm talking about when you move him around with a purpose. So you bring your defensive end inside on a hard rush, force him to run to his left, and then you trigger a linebacker, and BYU's got some of the fastest linebackers in the country. And so as soon as he starts to move, a backer's in his face. So you force him to be on the move, but you have containment planned in your rush. The teams that have done that, as I've been watching film, have a much better chance of slowing this passing game down than teams that either let him sit in the pocket and throw it, or let him break containment and have all kinds of time once he gets out there. Then he just kills you. So you got to pass rush with a purpose, make him move off his mark, and have a person there to contain him.
Sylvia says, I think this game ought to be a close one. BYU has to protect the football.
I agree, Sylvia. That's what we're talking. Turnover margin is key. Yep.
All right, here's our score predictions. If you've got one to share on the stream, go for it. BYU Colorado on Saturday night. What do you got?
Maybe I'm too optimistic, but I feel like BYU is going to force some turnovers.
Okay.
And I've got BYU 34, Colorado 24.
34-24.
Now, I know Shane Reese said 3 points, but I'm giving him 10.
I'm going to go 38-31 BYU. And it's going to be based on what we're talking about. Being able to run the football. Remember Brandon Doman last week talked about you've got to run the football, possess the ball, take care of it. They're going to have big plays. BYU's got to have long drives that end with touchdowns. It could get away. I could see it. I could see Colorado just coming out having a heyday, but I can also see BYU going toe to toe and pulling it out 38-31. Who knows how long Sanders and Hunter are going to play? Deion says they're going to play in the game. What does that mean?
Does that mean they play a little bit? I don't know. If the game,
those NFL agents are saying you're the 1 and 2 picks in the draft.
Right. What are you doing out there?
You're not playing for national title. Okay, play the first quarter. Then
Deion will have kept his word at that point.
Yeah, that seems to make the most sense.
It's interesting because you think about that Arizona State game. BYU against Arizona State, their idea was they're going to possess the ball, which they did a great. Like, remember those drives in the first half? They had these long drives, and then they turned the ball over and they had mistakes. So they didn't get points out of these long drives. It played right into Arizona State's hands. And they also gave them short fields, and they got up on BYU. And then you can't possess the ball. Then you got to be a little quicker with it.
Right.
The second half of football against Arizona State was maybe the best football that BYU's played all season long. So I need that second half of the Arizona State game BYU team in this game. That's aggressive on defense, tackling well, playing and keeping everything in front of them, holding the score down. And then that offense that was aggressive with their foot on the gas. They seemed like they were playing with more tempo in the second half. That's what I need in this game. I need that BYU team.
I'm excited to see this. Brent's got BYU 35-31.
There you go. See, now Brent's going right with Shane Reese's. So I should call him President Reese now.
President Reese.
And then Sylvia Taylor, she's real close to. So you're right on with me. I like this.
Yeah. Michael says, I like that BYU is projected as the underdog all year long. When the odds makers have picked BYU to lose, BYU's won. That's true.
It's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
and they are the dog, about 4.5 points.
Yeah.
We shall see. Keep coming with your predictions. Jeff Hansen's just a couple minutes away. We do want to give you a couple of updates. As every game this year, especially when the Cougars go on the road, we like to cover the service project.
Yes,
and give folks a chance to participate. The Cougs Care tailgate for the Alamo Bowl is going to focus on benefiting San Antonio's Haven for Hope, an organization that provides impactful care for folks experiencing homelessness in the community. This will include making donations through the Amazon wish list, which everyone can participate. It'll provide items specifically needed, and you get information at alumni.byu.edu/Alamo Bowl. The link will be in our chat. You just saw it there if you're on the live stream tonight. I went on my mission to San Antonio many moons ago, and they are some of the greatest people in the world. Mm-hmm. And there are so many BYU fans. I heard like 100,000 in the area now. And they've never had BYU come to town.
Yeah.
And now BYU is coming to town. Just like Santa Claus. Santa Claus is coming to town, and the Cougs are coming to town in San Antonio. So there's that we encourage you to participate. The link's in the stream now.
Alamo Bowl, of course, is Saturday. That's number 17 BYU against number 23 Colorado. That's at 5:30 Mountain on ABC. But don't forget to be on BYU TV at 3:30 Mountain, because Dave and I and the gang will be taking you home for 2 hours with a pregame show.
We had our pregame meeting today. We're going to have a fun show.
Should be good.
Join us for that one. Thank you for watching The Wise Guy.
If you like what you're watching, you can help us out by subscribing and hitting that notification button.